What's up, everybody? Welcome to Between Frets, a space where female musicians meet and discuss all things music. I'm your host, Genny Jam. So today was such a beautiful day here. We are in the midst of summer on the East Coast, and it's so nice and warm and humid, and I like it. But as the restaurants are opening up, outdoor dining is being provided, social distancing on that, and they're actually hiring musicians again. I've had a few shows on my calendar for the month of June that were pretty much canceled, but it turns out that this Thursday, the gig that I had scheduled is actually going on, and I'm really surprised. So I'm gonna have to start practicing again. Anyways, this is in Virginia, and it seems like Virginia is opening up a little bit faster than the DC and Maryland area, but it'll soon follow. So as the world is opening up, musicians will soon be working again. It's a good thing, right? So the next episode that's coming up is so great. And I have to thank Gretchen Menn again, because we were going to end our season in May, in the beginning of May, but because of her, she connected us with more beautiful, gifted, awesome female musicians. And so we extended our season to July. Now, we call this our quarantine episodes because these episodes were recorded in mid-April, beginning of May. We were pretty much in the height of the quarantine. This episode, we have the talented, the awesome Courtney Cox of the Iron Maidens. I am so excited about this because I am a true admirer of everything about her. So it was so great to interview her. She's so cool, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Again, thank you to Gretchen for the connection. And Fret Sisters, our platform is to empower the female musicians of all races. And we're here to talk about them, to have you support them. That's what our community is all about. That's what Fret Sisters page is all about, highlighting the female string players. And Between Frets is bringing them here and having you all hear their story and hear their journey. We hope that you love this episode. Fret Sisters will always and keep putting out content there for you to just make your day a lot better, right? So coming up next is Courtney Cox. Peace and love. Hello, we are back. This is Genny Jam, and we are thrilled with our guest today on Between Frets. She's a highly skilled, no-holds-barred guitarist that has dominated the music sphere. Born in Philadelphia, she is a member of the all-female tribute band, the Iron Maidens, and goes by the stage name Adriana Smith, the female version of Adrian Smith. Known for her power riffs and explosive solos, she's rocking the world globally and keeping guitar alive. Yay! Everyone, yeah, please stand up for Courtney Cox.
Woo, the crowd goes wild.
Yay! I know. I'll insert stadium cheers. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Yeah.
Being home's really strange, and in California right now it's like in the high 80s, so dealing with that as well.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, we're currently asking our guests how the quarantine is going. Making sure everybody's safe.
Yeah. The C word.
I know. That is so funny. I want to first thank Gretchen Menn for the connection. She's so amazing, and I'm so happy that we got connected with you because we did an earlier podcast last year for the female tribute bands, all-female tribute bands, and the Iron Maidens was one of the bands that we featured, and we talked about the musicians and you. So I was like, yay!
Yeah, it's me and Gretchen, the redhead power.
Oh yeah, the redhead power. Yep. Okay, so let's get started. We usually want to find out how it all started. What was the dream, becoming reality and wanting to pick up that guitar?
It was very strange, because growing up, youngest memory, or earliest memory, I should say, was, playing on my grandmother's piano. Didn't really think of anything. And then I went through the typical grade school, like, oh, do you want to be in the school band? So I did, playing clarinet, and I was first chair clarinet, the nerd thing. Mm-hmm. And then I really got into sports since, being in the grade school band wasn't cool anymore. You want to fit in with the jocks and all. And then, just one day, it was right before Christmas, I went to my father, and this was like when I was kind of really like leeching on to like metal and stuff. I was just like, you know what, I want a guitar. And he thought I was very, very strange. And my mom's like, guitar, really? I'm like, I don't know, I just want to try it, do something different. And then within a week, I was like playing along to my favorite Metallica tunes, and I was like, oh, I think I have something here. But it didn't start out as like, oh, I want to be a rock star thing. I just loved playing. I would sit in my garage, because I didn't really have friends back then, and just play for hours on end.
Wow. So, and was anybody in your family musical, or?
Well, obviously, grandmother piano, my grandfather sang in the church choir. My dad was a huge Buddy Rich fan, so he played a little drums. Older brother, drums. Middle brother, eldest brother, plays drums. Middle brother played trumpet, but I think my mom dabbled with guitar for a month because she was really into the Beatles. But other than that, I was kind of the one that pursued it, I would say.
Oh, that's awesome. So you were actually teaching yourself these songs. That's amazing.
Yeah, I would ruin, I'm going to go back now. I'm not too old, but, I would ruin my cassettes.
Oh, wow.
Rewinding, because that's how I pretty much learned how to play. It was like, just put your favorite tune on and play until the notes match up, kind of.
So your musical influences back then pretty much were the ones that you learned the music from. And who were your musical influences?
The biggest one, and the one I like copied just to the T, was Kirk Hammett, Metallica.
Wow.
I had to play the same strings. I needed the same picks. I would watch his moves and completely obsessed. And then, I got music influences from my brother because everything was metal. So it was the Metallicas, the Judas Priest, Pantera, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, those are great influences. I read that you started touring at the age of 15.
Yeah.
So that was really, was that really your first experience actually gigging?
No. I started 13, and around, I think, like mid 14-ish, my mom enrolled me in that Paul Green School Rock thing. Now it's just called School Rock. It changed owners and stuff. But I went in, and I immediately was put into their all-star program. I didn't go to a single lesson, so I got in trouble a lot. But the first time through that school, I was put into a Judas Priest versus Iron Maidens show. So that was my first time on stage, and it was just natural to me. And then, a couple months later, I was on the road with like Adrian Belew, and after that, it was like John Anderson of Yes. It wasn't my cup of tea, and I kind of hated most of it, but I learned a lot.
Yeah, it like pretty much prepared you for like what was to come, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's just the playing, getting comfortable on stage, discovering yourself as a performer. Like, everyone's a musician, but if you really want to be in this career, like, you have to be able to perform. People want to be entertained, so I learned a lot about that. And then the other side of it that a lot of people don't really get to sink their teeth into unless they're on the road. It's like the business side of things and how promoters work, and make sure you're being paid at the end of the night, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely important. When you were playing in the beginning and doing these tours, you were endorsed then too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Actually, the funniest, my first endorsement was PV Amps, and I was 14. I was at a music trade show in New York called Music Player Live, and the main rep from PV at the time was David Ellefson. So here's 14-year-old Courtney coming in to talk about, amps and stuff. And I literally have a Metallica shirt on, a Metallica necklace, Metallica this, Metallica that. I'm like, oh, this is awkward. Megadeth and all. We just laugh about it now every time we see each other. But yeah, that was the first. And then, I was just lucky enough to have people approach me.
That's
I never really let it go to my head. So even to this day, I don't really chase anyone, but if someone wants to talk to me about, a pedal or this and that, you just give them the time of day, and, if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you ever have like photos or pictures or even videos back then of like you playing and just like kind of seeing like the growth of that?
Oh yeah, I think one of the last ones, because I usually don't look it up because it's so embarrassing when you watch yourself.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a video on YouTube somewhere from a John Anderson tour, and I think it was in Vermont, and there was a huge snowstorm. And John was late for the first song, so they just screamed at me, "Courtney, go do an 80s solo." I'm like, it's a prog rock show. So I think there's video floating around, like the first kind of solo thing I ever did, like typical 80s, like look at me kind of thing. But I think I watched it once and hoped it was taken down.
Oh gosh. The way that you started when you first started playing guitar and developing your style to like going into playing the tribute bands and learning their style, how did like you're learning somebody else's solos, either it was note for note or putting in your own flair. How is that process for you when you have to?
I don't even really think about it because, even with Maiden, I was a huge Maiden fan from the get-go before I even moved out to California and found the Maidens. And just that's how I learned how to play, play your favorite songs. But I never picked one of my influences and said, I'm going to copy everything they do. I kind of nitpicked what I liked from each of my influences. So even now, playing Adrian's parts, when I first learned the tune, that's added to the set list, I'll learn it note for note, but, I'm not him. I'm still Courtney at the end of the day. So I come out in the solo regardless if I'm playing the notes exact or not. It's all in the fingers.
Yeah. Did you say it was on the fingers?
All in the fingers.
Yeah. Look, the reason why I asked that is because I totally get that. And I say that, I guess you hear it, you're like, tone is in the fingers, it's all in the fingers. And there's always a joke about that. But I totally like think it's like the word,
Well, you can line up 10 different, guitar players from all levels, beginner to, expert or god. Tell them to play one note and they're all going to sound different.
Yeah, you're right. It's the way, it's like the approach and the technique, it could be played different. Somebody could play it one way on the fretboard and you can be playing it another way and it still kind of sounds the same, but the technique and the flavor might be a little different, but still nice, right?
Yeah. For me, it's, it's not about having, a face on a magazine or this and that. For me, the only thing I ever really wanted to achieve, this can go either way. It could be a bad thing or a good thing, but I just wanted my playing to be sort of like, some of the players we all know, like you don't really have to see them playing to know it's them playing. You can tell by the tone and how they play kind of thing. Like, it's, Eric Clapton playing and, when you're just listening on the radio or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's always been like my main goal.
Oh yeah, that's cool. So how did it come about with the Iron Maidens? Like, how did you hook up with them?
So basically, when the tours were kind of finishing when I was living in Philly and I was kind of burned out on the kind of music that we were playing. Actually, some of the girls I was in that, project with, we started a King Diamond tribute called Queen Diamond.
Yeah, that's cute.
Because we needed our metal fix. And then, the music scene in Philly at the time it was just weird. Like it was kind of the hipster movement kind of moved in, and the thrash, because I was really into thrash at that time before I moved. And that scene was just growing smaller and smaller and no places to play. So I gave my mom like a week's notice and I left home at 19. I moved out to California and it was the MySpace days, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something. I'm out here. It's a new life. And, I found out that the Maidens were auditioning for their Adrian. And I heard of the Maidens like way back in the day when I was, first starting, basically, because they were like 2001, I think they started. I was like, oh man, that's cool. I'm glad to see like women doing this kind of stuff, especially that genre of music. And then it was just, full circle, like, wow, I'm auditioning for that band I was like watching.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you know, I did 2 auditions, and you know, a couple months later, we were in Japan.
Yeah. The touring is amazing, like with that band.
Oh no, it's insane. That's why I'm going nuts right now with the whole lockdown.
Oh yeah, because a lot
Like
of
having to finally unpack your suitcase was really strange.
yeah, because the tours probably be postponed for most of the year. I mean, I don't want to say that. I really don't.
I know, but we all have to be honest with ourselves. I think concerts are going to be the last thing to come back.
Yeah. Have you ever met anybody in Iron Maiden? I always wanted to know that.
Oh, yeah. And then before I joined the band, actually, the Maidens opened up for Steve Harris's daughter, Lauren, in Mexico, and then Steve and Bruce came out and watched them. But me being in the band, mostly somehow, it's probably our booking agent's fault, but our shows kind of follow their shows when they're on tour. So if they have a day off and we're in the same area, you know, a couple of the guys come out, their crew comes out all the time. You know, it's funny, even if like we run into each other anywhere in the world, it's one thing we don't talk about, Iron Maiden.
Yeah. I could understand that, definitely. You know, I'd love to talk about your gear. The one thing about your tone and your sound, that it's so warm and heavy and thick. So I know that you played or you're endorsed by Comparison Guitars, and you have a model, right? I did some research because I was like, Comparison Guitars, whoa. And they were like the former design division, the former design team in Japan that made Jackson.
Yeah. Our head designer for Comparison, he did all the 80s Jacksons that are like some of the bigger models for them.
Whoa.
Like Kelly and stuff like that. Yeah, so because I used to play Jackson. That was like the second endorsement I ever received as a kid was Jackson. And I played, you know, my Jacksons up well through, when did I switch to Comparison? I think it was like 2015 that I switched to Comparison. Which is, you know, for anyone, when you have that much history with a company, it's never easy. But, you know, when I first played one of the Comparison models, I was like, oh, I mean, this is amazing. And then hearing the story, like, yeah, it's the 80s Japanese luthier Jackson. I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, you know? Mm-hmm. So it was an easy transition just because of the quality of the instrument. The guy is a mastermind.
Yeah. I mean, just hearing how your guitar sounds, and it's your signature green guitar. Is that your model, or is that?
Yes, that's my model, and then I have one in pink. It's the same model.
Yeah. I mean, that thing is a monster. It sounds so beautiful, you know. I mean, it's clean and clear. And I also read something about the 27 frets.
Yes.
That is nuts.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the Jason Becker thing, but the first time I ever tried a Comparison, I kind of forgot about that little detail, and I took it on stage, and first solo out the gate, looking down, and it's like, uh-oh, like, where am I?
Yeah, I can see that, because it's like you have the 22 and then 24, and then I can't imagine you have like a few more frets to go up. That's amazing.
The Jackson I was playing, I think only had 22. So like going from 22 to 27 is like, huh?
Wow. You must have been like, whoa, I can go really high. I mean, I can imagine like how high you can go.
Yeah.
Wow.
It helps. It helps, especially when your fingers are fatigued and can't really bend on that 22 or 24 anymore. You just do the slide up to the high note.
Yeah. With the type of tone that you have, does the guitar have the thick tone as well? Does it bring out that thick tone?
I would say the pickups in my guitar that were basically created around the guitar, it's actually more bright, which actually helps with my tone to make it cut more, because I'm more of like a mid girl. So literally anytime I set up my amp, like trebles all the way off pretty much. And a lot of people are like, what? Seriously? I'm like, yeah, like it's all mids for me.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then, you know, just tweaking the gain on top of that. But yeah, I kind of stay away from that hissy treble, you know, metal tone.
For your go-to rig, as far as like amps or pedals or anything like that, what is your go-to rig?
Freedman.
Okay.
Yeah, I joined with Freedman about 3 years ago, and it's life-changing.
Wow.
And even, what is great about Freedman is that, you know, when you're going on these fly out tours and stuff, obviously you're not going to travel with your head or, you know, your half stack. So they have this overdrive pedal that I use for, you know, flyaway gigs, and you plug it in to any amp you have on stage, direct clean, and it sounds like my amp.
Really?
Yeah, it really saves me on tour when you don't know what's going to be on stage.
True. Well, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, the Freedman BEOD overdrive pedal.
I know somebody did mention to me about a Freedman when I was looking for distortions, but I'll definitely check that out. And you play with Femme Fatale as well?
Yes. Well, the band recently broke up because our singer went to Vixen, but I was in Femme Fatale for a good 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, because they've been around for a while.
Yeah, before I was born.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they were there that long.
Oh, yeah, they were like 1990. I think that's when the big album was out.
Oh, cool. Well, do you have any other, like any projects in the works or solo projects in the works?
Yeah, over the last 2 years, I've been, working on my own album, which was hard because, you know, you're only home for 2 days to repack and then go off on another tour. That's why, as much as it sucks to be out of work right now, it's kind of a blessing to have all this time at home to practice and write and, you know, work on my relationship. It's just such a different world now. Yeah.
That's exciting that you're putting out some of your own music. What type of style do you consider yourself, like writing for yourself?
Oh, definitely 80s metal.
Oh, nice.
Till I die, I'm just an 80s metal chick. Mixed in thrash and, you know, my ear always goes to that 80s sound.
That's cool. It's always good to be able to put out music.
So my hardest thing right now that I just realized that, you know, I'm like 6 songs in and I realized I did everything in standard tuning, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, is there anyone out there that still sings that high?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, am I gonna have to like go back in and just drop everything down? So hopefully there's like that new blood coming up that, you know, is actually into singing over standard, you know, the metal screams and stuff.
Oh yeah. And that, you know, and that's what I wanted to ask you too about like standard tuning versus tuning down to like E flat or anything like that. In your experience, have you had to play in other than standard tuning, or do you play?
I mean, for me, this is a personal preference, but I don't like to go lower than E flat.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget who said it, what musician said, if you can't make standard sound heavy, you're not doing it right. And I never forgot that, and I can't remember who said it, but those are good words right there. I mean, it is difficult because, you know, especially like growing up on all those albums, it's like, okay, this sounds really great. Oh wait, it's that song. Oh
yeah.
It's really hard to, you know, it's just so high, and you know, it's easy to get the 8-string guitars now and everything chug, but it's difficult to write, you know, heavy hooky stuff in standard, as I'm finding. Speaking
of like the 8-string guitars and 7 strings, have you experienced those?
I dabbled on a 7-string, but I always tell myself, you know what, you have to master 6 strings first before adding anything else.
Thank you. Oh yes. That's good advice right there.
And I have tiny hands, so it doesn't help me anyway.
Oh yeah. Because the neck's got to be really thick, right?
Yeah, and I'm a stickler over, you know, I only like to have my guitar so high, and if it goes over a certain height, for me it kind of looks lame, but that's just me. Because I'm always running around on stage, so I can't really have a guitar that high. So.
Yeah. Your stage presence is amazing. Plus, this is a girl thing, but the hair.
No, it's all about the hair. Everyone thinks I'm doing it on purpose, but like if anyone's the length of my hair, like yeah, it's basically the game of not swallowing your own hair on stage.
Yeah. What's cool about the stage presence is that you're killing it. But what hair product do you use?
Oh, for me, it's just all about this Schwarzkopf hairspray that you can only get in Sweden, apparently. So I have like friends of mine anytime we're in Europe to like bring me some of it. But other than that, I don't really have a regimen or anything.
Oh wow! I was like, man, she's gonna have to sell like hair products or do like a hair kind of thing, because it doesn't get frizzy. It looks beautiful, by the way. Really nice shiny hair.
Thank you. I think the only thing that saved me, and I have to thank my mom for this, because obviously growing up, I think we all go through that rebellious phase, like, I'm gonna cut my hair and dye it a million colors and all that. She never let me touch my hair ever.
Oh,
So I thank her now. So
yeah. We always like to know what you'd like to do off stage. What other things do you do when you're not working, not touring?
Well, first things first, you have to do all your stage clothes laundry. That's a big one. I don't know. I play with my cats because, I'm a crazy cat lady. But more important things, I should say, I like to go to the gym a lot because, to do what I do, being on the road, you got to be healthy.
Yes.
And then just typical, housewife things. I like to cook.
Hey.
long walks on the beach, that kind of cheesy stuff.
It seems really good for like the mind, because like you said, being healthy, mentally and physically, and especially as much work as you do, it's definitely good to be healthy.
Yeah, and even, I'll probably get attacked for saying it, but sometimes I'll get off tour and not pick up my guitar once or not listen to music. Like, I really got into talk radio over the last couple of years.
Oh, cool.
Fingers need a break, ears need a break. And just a mental cleaning, just, relax, enjoy the time, because, the next day you're supposed to be at LAX at 6 a.m. So it's just a balance. Finding that balance.
And you do a lot of clinics, on top of that.
Mm-hmm. And that's terrifying. It's like being like an exhibit at a zoo.
Really? It's a good way of putting it.
I remember my first one. It was for young guitar magazine in Japan. So we had to fly out to Japan, and I've never really had a clinic that was that big or important. But young guitar for any guitar player is like a big thing. And just you're just on this stool and everyone's just staring at you and watching every note and just it's just like but you get used to it. It's just like playing on stage. You got to keep doing it to get comfortable with it. And it's just so weird, like trying to people asking you like, why do you play it that way, and you don't really know how to say, because I don't know, it's just the way I play. Yeah it's very hard to teach.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. With those clinics, a lot of the equipment is provided for you too, is it?
Yeah.
Is that like stuff that you have to not learn, but like you got something new, like a new pedal or something that you play around with?
Yeah, well, most of the time it's either there's one like demoing something, but most of the time I just fly out with my pedal board that I take on tour, and they want to do a gear rundown thing, which is cool because honestly I haven't really changed my pedal board since I started playing guitar.
Oh, sweet.
And people are really into that for some reason. Like, I don't know, it just sounded good, and I if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, I know. It's like gear talk and pedals. Everyone's always asking like, what's the best tone, and I know sometimes it's hard for like to figure that out, but you definitely do have some nice tone.
I remember the last time we were in Australia, like some of the Roland Boss reps came out to, take photos of my pedal board, and they were all laughing because everything was like set to 12 o'clock. And they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, it's been like that since I was 13 because I didn't have the patience to sit there. So I just set everything at 12 o'clock and it was just good.
Oh, cool.
And they're like, how old are these pedals? I'm like, I think I got them when I was literally just starting to play. And they're like, you sure you don't want new ones? I'm like, nah. They have character.
Oh gosh, that's awesome. So they're probably like vintage or something.
I've had to replace one or two, but the rest of them are just so antiqued.
That's awesome. How do you feel about like the digital versus analog or
I've never been a tech person, so for me it's tube amp and pedals.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for like any artists that are up and coming?
I know I get this one a lot. It's like, okay, word this carefully.
It's all right. You can be honest.
I mean, for me, play because you want to, not because, it's a thing now, especially with the whole YouTube thing. Now everyone's saying, oh, go on YouTube and do this and make, this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. And then another big thing is don't compare yourself to others, because I see that happening a lot, in the music world today. I mean, with everything, and even magazines are guilty of it. Like, everything's a competition now. Like, who's the best this, and you should be like that. And I think mentally, I think it could be damaging to players trying to get into the scene and that. And then just know that you're going to end up where you're supposed to be eventually. So it's all about the hard work, practice, and learn the business. Always have a good attitude. There's a lot that goes into it. None of us literally just woke up and we're on the road. We had to put the work into it. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but it's worth the shot. The good old college try. If that's what you want to do, then just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really good advice as far as like putting in the work. Well, any upcoming tours? Well, after everything opens up, do you have any plans for touring?
Oh yeah, I'm sure the touring is going to be ridiculous for everyone in the business.
Yeah.
Right now, we still even have tours that are booked in June. I'm like, but they're on the East Coast. I'm like, why haven't they been postponed yet? But obviously it comes down to the venues, promoters, and our booking agent. But obviously we're not going to put anyone at risk, so mm-hmm. I don't think those are going to happen. But scheduled now, we were supposed to be in Australia basically right now. Honestly, I think it was supposed to be Australia right now, and then it was postponed to September, I think. So that's that's the earliest one. We were supposed to have that whole metal festival thing in Europe this July. That's postponed to the following July. It's just, I know we're all kind of in limbo.
So we could probably expect any tours to be happening probably the end of the year.
Yeah, really, or fingers crossed.
Yeah. So tell our listeners where we can follow you.
Good old social media, right? I don't even know half the time because everyone's just logged in, so you kind of forget like the names of everything. Instagram, Twitter at Cece Shred. Facebook, you can find me at Courtney Cox Official, but it's Courtney Cox because I always get mixed up with the actress Courtney Cox. She spells her name differently. Mine's Courtney. And then there's another fan page on Facebook, which is Cece Shred Official. And, for the Maidens, it's the Iron Maidens Official, Facebook and Instagram, I believe. And
awesome.
Twitter.
Awesome.
That was a mouthful. I'm tired now.
You're tired. Cece Shred, is that your kind of nickname or something?
Yeah, because I came up with that when I first started playing because everyone's like, oh, Courtney Cox, like the actress, ha ha ha. Like I just got so sick of it, and people didn't really see the difference. I was just like, yeah, I'm not in Friends. Oh
I know, that's got to be crazy to have to deal with that.
It was like the MySpace days. I'm like, oh, what's the name? Oh, CC Show, whatever. And it just kind of stuck.
Yeah. We'll put all the links in our show notes so that everybody can go there and find out the latest updates.
I'm easy to find.
Yeah.
If you see photos of my cats, you're in the right place.
Oh, that's so awesome. How many cats do you have?
2.
You have 2?
We talked about you.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, she's my interview buddy. Right, Cheese? Are you a cheese? Yes, you are.
Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. We never had a cat on our podcast.
She has her own Instagram too. It's Fromage the Cheese. All
right, we're putting that on our show notes.
I think she's more famous than I am because even at shows, there'll be a chant going cheese. I'm like, you're talking about my cat right now.
What kind of cat do you have? I know my kid has a Maine Coon.
Oh, she's just the basic house cat. I don't know.
Okay.
She's fluffy.
Aww.
But definitely not a Maine Coon. Not that size.
I know, geez, right? Well, okay. Well, thank you again for being part of our podcast, Between Frets. Oh my gosh, Courtney, and we hope that you stay safe.
You too.
And we can't wait to hear your music and see you out there again performing, with the Iron Maidens and your clinics and all your stuff. So yes, stay safe and thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
If you want to learn more about this lick, hit us up on Facebook or Instagram at Fret Sisters, or email us at fretsistersmusic@gmail.com. Peace and love.